Hello, 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 and welcome. I'm very excited for today's exploration on meditation and the mind. Hello, 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 Christiana, Jen, Jackie, Sam, Sarah, William. Go ahead and find the chat and say hello. Let me see that you are out there. It is a beautiful day here in Miami. I have all the windows open. The winter is here. It's really nice. Hello, Christiana. I'm super excited to be on your radio show tomorrow. Viviana, mi amor. Jen out in California. Hello, Leslie up in Toronto. Hello, Jacqueline. Yeah, it's sunny and warm. It's perfect. I mean, a lot of times it's too hot here in Miami. So right now I have all the windows open, the garden's alive. Oh yeah, Christiana is asking in the chat, guys, as everyone's joining the call, and I'll repeat this shortly. Make sure that you make a selection in the to field to all panelists and attendees. So if you can, just go ahead and say hello. Welcome, Annika. Wow, all the way. Where are you in the world? You're in is it Croatia? Are you coming from Croatia? Manuela in Peru. So just as everyone's joining, go ahead and say hello in the chat. Hello from Sweden. Oh my gosh, I miss Sweden. I was there 3 times a year for the last 5 years. Melody up in Canada. We have Angela Brown in North Florida. I want to come visit you. Elena in Switzerland. St. Louis, excellent. Patricia in Seminole, Florida. Beautiful, beautiful. Jackie in Switzerland. Wow, so we have a really, really beautiful community here. Erica up in upstate New York. Excellent, excellent, excellent. So we have a great international community right here that is gathering as a Sangha to support a better understanding of meditation in our lives. So this is it's such a pleasure to reach out to you guys and to be able to offer all of this. So if you haven't been in one of my lectures before, you'll see that it's very interactive. This is a conversation, so we're going to have a dialogue. And what that means is that if you have any questions, if something comes up, if I say a word and you don't understand it, it's better for me if you ask, and I won't lose my train of thought. So don't worry about that. Does that make sense? Is that fair? Ask questions. Hello, Lords. Welcome, welcome. Happy to see you again, too. All right. So we have an agreement there. Now, last time in our previous lecture, this is part of 4 different lectures that are just to help you feel better in your life, detox out the past, detox out heavy emotions, detox out the breath, detox the body. I talked to you a bit, and we did that exercise where you inhale and you inhale and you inhale and you inhale. Hello, Mika in France. Welcome, welcome. Sarah in Ithaca, New York. I love it. Sorry, I get really excited by the international community coming together. Hello, Sanji. Thank you for joining. So, guys, I want you to, right now with me, let's inhale and see how long we can go. Just begin inhaling. Hello, Amity. Keep inhaling. See how long you can inhale. Some of you that are pranayama experts, maybe you'll get to 25 seconds. Yeah? You keep inhaling, you keep inhaling. Inhale, inhale. At some point, you're going to have to exhale. Yeah? Do we agree that that's a principle? I know I'm being a little Captain Obvious, but hello, Brian, Laguna Beach. Yes, in the house. Amity in the house. So you guys can see, you can inhale, and maybe you can make it really long, but at a certain point, you're going to need to exhale. I'm always Captain Obvious, but the reason why I bring this up is because you need to exhale. And what that means is, as I'm going to give you information, ask you to look at things that have to do with the mind and meditation, if you don't kind of write in the chat or nod a little bit, or you don't digest it, you don't exhale, what you will see is that you get data poisoning. In other words, you'll feel like you're all the way full and you can't take in any more information, and then you will start to daydream, your mind will wander, and you won't get the most out of this, out of today's practice. So that's why I say find the chat, ask me questions. A question is an exhale, a yes is an exhale, just some sort of communication. Hey, Pedro, how are you? Great to see you. Puerto Rico in the house. So we are from Switzerland to Sweden to Peru to Canada, Puerto Rico, East Coast, West Coast, probably got some Hawaii. So excellent, my loves. All right, so who has tried to meditate before? Who has tried to meditate? Anybody? Anybody? Melody, Maria, everyone's like, yes, yes, yes. And you probably heard a lot of information, like, I need to make my mind still. Have you heard this before? Yeah, a little bit. I've heard that. all the time. How did it go for you? Were you able to get the mind to become still for any amount of time? Like 2 seconds, Ray. Exactly. and then discipline makes it better. Still, what's that? Mika says. Yeah, 1 minute. Okay. So, but you probably heard of these like yogis and swamis who can make their mind still for extended amounts of time. Angela says, yes, but it takes work. You have to tolerate to let things go and not go down the rabbit hole, always chasing. Angela, have you been reading my notes on today's lecture? I see. She's psychic. She's like, I will read Ray's notes. I have them right here, and Angela is reading them. So that's exactly it. So I'm gonna change the make sure, guys, that you're set to all panelists and attendees in the chat. So just go down to the 2 setting so that it says all panelists and attendees. Angela, because the nature of our mind is actually always there. It's just that oftentimes we put things in the way. So what we want to do with when we learn to meditate is actually get to a success. So, all right. Now let's first define what meditation is. What does this mean? Because most people, when they hear meditation, they think of like a guided meditation or something that they've heard at a yoga class. Some of you may have done like retreats where you meditate for hours and hours a day. But what we find is that maybe we're not quite sure of what this word meditation actually means. So what does it mean? What does meditation mean? Who knows? Jen says stillness, letting go. What else? What is meditation? Annika says recovery. Jacqueline says to calm your mind, let thoughts come and go. Excellent. Jen says being aware and present to self. Emotions. Going into the void, one-pointed focus, absorption. Being present, Viviana says. Lord says reset. Okay. Excellent, excellent. Angela says becoming receptive to higher messages. Okay. Jess Wiener says no thought. Awesome. Okay. Very good. So I'm going to define meditation. Pedro says state where you are your true self, spiritual self, no mind. Pedro, you're reading my notes. I can see that. Yeah. So the first thing that we want to understand is that you as a being, you are a composite of things. Now, what does that mean? And I'm going to use some fun analogies. So let's say you go out to the club. Your favorite drink is like Red Bull vodka with a splash of cranberry. Now, also in that, you're going to have some ice. So now we have 4 different elements that are mixed together into something, and you call this a drink that you would drink. But what we have is a confusion over the hierarchy. Which one is really in charge? And this is just an analogy so that you see, as a human being, you're a composite. So you have a body, you have a mind, and your mind kind of has different minds within it. And you also have something that we can call spirit, yeah? And this spirit, if we're looking at yoga philosophy, is a nothingness, an emptiness. It's something that's non-physical. Whereas mind is actually physical, yeah? And we get a confusion around this because you don't think you can touch it. But let's see, you guys are perceiving the physicality of the mind all the time. You walk into a party and there are 3 people that are really angry. Even before you see their faces, isn't there something that you can feel? Can't you feel something? You sense something? There's something tangible that's there. Angry people, you see someone walking down the street, you can see one person, it's like their mind emits a joy. Another person, there's a density and a friction. Yeah, you guys have all experienced this. Yeah, thank you, Annika. Thank you. So you're walking through this world and you're perceiving things which you would say, well, is it only physical? You know, if I can touch it, okay, the cell phone's physical. But the signals that travel to the cell phone, also physical. They're trackable, they're measurable. And it's the same thing with our mind. Yeah? Making sense so far? I'm just going to like dive in, so let me know if I get... The cell phone analogy, I like to use modern analogies. Let's talk about the Red Bull vodka. Let's talk about the cell phone, because it's something you can relate to. If I talk Sanskrit and use like these vague things, it's not going to help. Okay, excellent. So water, please. Yeah, I know, guys. I have like teapots, you know, jars of water. So we have an extensive hydration machine over here as I talk. This tea is a digestive tea that I actually mixed. It has ginger, fennel, a little bit of pu'er from China, which is a fermented black tea. You know, I make teas, so very yummy. Also keeps me wound up. So all right, let's get back in, because I want you guys to get a few things. I want to clarify what meditation is so that you have a working knowledge, and I also want to give you some really great things that you can do daily to enter into meditation. Yeah, Pedro, I send the teas with the skin creams, so I can't help myself. All right. So when we're talking about meditation, first off, using this analogy of the vodka Red Bull cranberry, which I think is an awful drink. That's why I pick it, because it makes me kind of cringe. So I think it's an awful drink, but it's a composite. And in that composite, this is kind of what you are, but oftentimes the wrong part of you is in charge. So yoga uses a system of hierarchy, which says the thing which is more subtle governs that which is more gross. So in other words, we want the mind to govern the body. Yeah, it's the natural order of things. You can think about this a little bit like you can direct your mind to look for your hand, and just to be like Captain Obvious, because let's have some fun, see that you can look at your hand. Now, ask yourself this: how many times has your hand looked for you? Subtle to gross. There's an order to this. Now, above the mind, we have our spirit. This is the spirit, and a good way to say this, so we're trying to define something with words, which are a physical thing, something which is non-physical. The spirit is an aspect of you which is absolute creativity. It has no differentiation. It has no personality. It doesn't prefer one thing over the other. It's pure, even more subtle than presence. And this part of you that we call in yoga Atma, Brahma, Purusha, there's many names, this part of you is always pure. But as it touches this physical world, we start to gather all kinds of considerations, stickiness, ideas, memories, thoughts, and those things, we kind of drag them along with us. And that dragging along with us, I refer to as the mind field. Not mine, M-I-N-E, whoosh, explosions, although it does have a lot of those. Mind field. And when in yoga we begin to kind of work with this, we have the idea of clarifying it, detoxing out past sticky heaviness, and allowing the mind to rest in this pure state. Making sense so far? I still haven't defined meditation. I'm getting there soon. But is it making sense so far? Can you kind of see this like dragging along all of these past realities? Yes. I love your yeses. I instead of saying just mind, I refer to it as mind field, because I'm giving it a physical definition, Christiana. So mind is a word that we oftentimes have like a lot of different definitions for. When I say mind field, I'm showing that it has a space, it has a timing in it, and it has its own physicality. Jen says, who is it that's dragging this corpse around? Yeah, exactly. This body, you're what gives it life. Erica says, like Velcro. It can be a little bit like Velcro. Okay, excellent. So now I'm going to define meditation as this. Meditation is something that you do to enter into a state where you the spirit or higher self begin to gain control over all the different levels of density. So whether this is the mind field or the body. So someone who is meditative in nature, the body moves in a certain way. Someone who is compulsive, the body moves in an uncontrolled way. Can we see, does this make sense? Yeah. Excellent. So how would you define meditation? Meditation is a vast body of work. And in English, we have like one word. In Sanskrit, there are many, many words that mean specific things. It's a vast body of work that contains things that you can do to enter into a certain kind of state. Okay? So meditation is a state, not really actions. The actions can put you into the state. So when we're in that state, when we cultivate this meditative state, what you will see is that your emotions, your energy, your thoughts, and your attention begin to reside in a certain level of maturity. Yeah? Making sense so far? That sounds great, right? But how do I do it? I sit down to meditate and all these thoughts come in, or I fall asleep, which is also another thing. Slowly. You can do it slowly, you can do it quickly. So Christiana says, how do you mean maturity? Less distracted? Yeah, so for instance, let's define maturity. Let's say I invite some friends over and they come over and we're having a lovely time, we're having a lovely dinner, but one person seems really upset and they turn to me and they go, you know, Ray, you're just such an asshole. I can get really upset and react to them, or I can just have a look and say, oh, man, what's going on with my friend here? One of these is a more mature response. Instead of being reactive, like, she called me this. Okay, the person vibrated air. That air hit my ears with the frequency. How I interpret that has to do with my level of maturity. Do I have an emotional reaction that's like, well, blah, 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 and now we have a fight? Or do I look and say, oh, something must be going on with my friend? Yeah? Pedro, yes, quickies are great. Amity, I lost you. Let me see how to pick you up. Where did I lose you? Yeah, exactly. So here is this idea of, are we, in our experience, as information's coming in and we're in exchange with it, are we at a level of causation? Meaning, if someone says something to me, do I have a reactive set of responses? It's like they push the button and this response comes out, which is not conscious at all. It's reactive and it's very common, but it's not very useful. Or if someone goes to push the button, do they push the button and the button goes in? It's kind of like when you're like trying to get the elevator door to open quicker, and you keep pressing the button, but it doesn't actually do anything. Or you're trying to get it to close so that it leaves. You keep pressing the close button. Most of the time, it doesn't really do anything. Yeah, we want our reactions to be like this. Someone goes to press the button, and there's no reaction. I know, the elevator, and I find myself doing that even though I know it doesn't work. I'm still like, and I press the button, and somehow mentally I think the door is going to close and we're going to leave sooner. But I know, because I've read about how elevators are made, that it actually is just to alleviate people's anxiety. Yeah. So what this brings us to is that we have many, many different kinds of doing that we can do to enter into a state, and that state is one of beingness, and I want to define this a little bit more. So when you begin to get the results of practicing meditation, of becoming more aware, what you will find is that there's a inner spaciousness that begins to occur. And you've heard this when they say, oh, serenity or peace, but not peace as an avoidance of action. I like to think of this more like peace, like a dove flying through the eye of a hurricane. Yeah? So there's an inner stillness. Everything's still moving around you, and it's not that you're not aware of it and you don't know that it's there, but it's that you're operating, you're moving from this inner stillness. And this is the state of meditativeness. It's a serenity. And now we want to understand how to create this very quickly. Because I could tell you sit for 10 years, chant this mantra, stare at this yantra, do these practices. Maybe you'll do it for 10 years, some do, but who would like a really quick way to enter into a meditative state? I'm getting a lot of me's in the chat. Yeah, you guys want to enter into a meditative state quickly? All right. This is very enthusiastic. Okay. Sure, why not? Sounds good. Whether it takes me a decade or a moment, anyways, we're still getting there. All right. So let's define just a little bit more of what interrupts us. So we have this, and I'm just going to call it reactive mind. So you know what that is. Maybe you've had the experience where you're talking to someone and you say something and you didn't mean it in any kind of offensive way, and all of a sudden they get really upset. You guys have experienced this where you say something and the other person has a response which is totally not really related to what's said. So we can say so this is a stimulus response mind, and this reactive mind is kind of the sum of all of your bad things, all of your traumas, all of this, thick heaviness. And what happens is something comes in from the environment, hits that, and whoosh, the response comes out. So this particular mind, when you yourself, if you can imagine a moment where you have been reactive and you've done this, afterwards you'll look back, if you're honest, with some logic, and you'll be like, why did I do that? And you look back and you're like, they were just talking to me in the kitchen and I got super mad, I smashed the plate and I ran out of there. And it's totally illogical, and you know, why did this happen? Yeah, Angela's like, yep, yesterday. Yeah, so this reactive mind, it's the sum of all of your traumas in this lifetime and in some past lifetimes as well. They kind of come with us. And there we have a set of processes that detoxes that. This is what I'm doing in the upcoming 3-month course. So those take a specific protocols and processes. But what we can do today is get a very simple way to release a reaction in the moment. And this is something that I use in my martial arts practice. I use it in traffic. I use it in all kinds of things. So I want you to imagine that you're stuck in traffic on the 405 in Los Angeles. And I used to live out near LA and move back and forth between Joshua Tree and LA. So I was stuck in traffic a lot. And I want you to imagine you're sitting in traffic. It's nighttime. So yeah, Angela's like, I know that very well. So you guys can see you're in traffic and it's just streams of cars in all directions. Nothing's moving. It's nighttime. You're stuck in your car. You feel frustrated. There's nowhere to exit to. There's nowhere to go. People are, the 405, Sanji, it's the worst. If you've been there, you know what I'm talking about. So imagine that you're sitting there and think about all the internal reactions that can come up. And, people are trying to cut you off even though you're not moving. So it's just this frustration. Next, I want you to imagine that I come in with a helicopter, I land next to the road, and I say, Sanji, come on, let's go, hop in. You hop into the helicopter, and we start to go up into the air. We get a little bit of distance from this being stuck in it, and all of a sudden you see the lines of traffic at night, and the lights look beautiful. You're like, wow, all of the lines of traffic all across LA, it's a beautiful piece of artwork. Now, what's the difference between these experiences? Yeah? We've got a little bit of distance. Does this make sense so far? Yeah, it's just distance. You're just creating a little bit of distance. And if you are on my email list, you got a email where I talked about how we're oftentimes fused, like bound, like too close to our thoughts, to our emotions, to our ideas. Yeah, so I want you to see that, again, the helicopter thing is just an analogy, that it's this idea of creating a little bit of distance. And I'm going to show you how to do this, but I want to tell you what you're learning so that it has a meaning. So when we create this, and for those of you who do physical yoga practices, you know that just a millimeter of release in the hip, in the lower back, in the shoulder, is a whole universe. Yeah? We have some sort of hidden consideration that it needs to be a huge change the tiniest change is everything. Space. Jen says, I had an experience once where I was so at ease, I thought my roommate was playing ambient music, but it was the sound of traffic. Exactly. So let's understand how to do this. So this is one of my favorite meditations, and it may come to you very naturally. It may take a little bit of practice, but either way, don't worry. So I want you to imagine that you're in this will work in any situation. You're just sitting down even by yourself, and this will allow you to enter a meditative state very quickly. So if I say the word allow, I want you to look around you and spot an object. So I'm just going to, like, the teapot. Now, normally you're kind of like you already have a picture of the teapot in your mind, so you don't actually see the real teapot. You see an image of a teapot, and you might not spot this regularly, but now maybe you see that you think, oh, teapot, or you might walk through a space and not see all of the things in the space. And so what I want you to do is find something in your environment, and as you rest your attention on it, I want you to just have this idea that you allow it to be. Now, that seems really kind of obvious, but just pick something in the environment, allow it to be. So I have this. I'm going to allow it to be. Pick something else. And I recommend starting with objects, but we'll see how this can go to all kinds of things. Allow it to be. In front of me, I have the lighting. Allow it to be. To the right, I have a wall. Instead of ignoring the wall, I allow it to be. Or I grant it beingness. Or I say, hello, wall. And I just begin to allow things around me to be. Does this make sense so far? So the first action is physical objects, allow it to be. So you can kind of feel yourself, and you just grant this space to the objects. We're working with objects first. Allow it to be. Yeah? Is anyone stuck with this? Does anyone have an obscuration, or you look at something and instead of allowing it to be, you start to think about it? So I want you to spot that there's a difference. Like over here, I have my case where I put my lights in. I'm looking at this and I think, oh, I need to finish unpacking the case with the lights. I need to do this. That's not allowing it to be. That's me thinking what I'm going to do with something. Yeah, Christiana, this is a really nice meditation. It's really fast, but we have to kind of move through the explanation slowly. So look around you, and I want you to spot the difference in thought of like allowing something to be versus thinking what you're going to do with it or what you have done with it. Now let's play with this. Find something around you and think about what you're going to do with it. So I looked over here, I saw my tissues, I thought, a lot of times I keep my tissue box here, but today I'm going to move it over there. So now I'm not allowing it to be, I'm thinking what I'm going to do about it. And we just want to have this very clearly defined. So I want you to look around you and find a few objects and, my flower's over here. Let's see, I need to change the water. I'm not allowing it to be, I'm thinking what I'm going to do about it. Does this make sense? Can you guys see the difference? Now, this is a different kind of meditation. This is a fast one that doesn't require you to have any posture, say any mantra. This is a space meditation. It's going to grant you a powerful beingness. Okay, good. So it makes sense. Christiana says, yes, directing it versus allowing it. Now, I'm not saying that it's wrong to direct something, but I'm saying for the sake of this, we're going to look around us and allow things to be. Now, if you get the habit of doing this, if you begin to create this regularly, what you will see is that your senses improve. You feel better in spaces. Excellent. So the next thing that I would like you guys to explore is I want you to imagine the last time that you had an interaction with another person, because here's where we're going to find that this ability to become meditative is really effective. I want you to imagine the last time you had an interaction with another person and there was some kind of tension. Either you had a fight, or you felt like there was a miscommunication, or you walked away kind of frustrated, or you felt like there was some sort of threads in your heart. There was something non-optimal about that communication. And just pick one. It doesn't have to be very dramatic. It can be whatever you want. So take a moment and just visualize this interaction. Don't let the emotions become too strong. And I want you to see your response in it and ask yourself this question. If I had allowed the other person completely to be in whatever state they are, whatever expression they are, without approving or disapproving of anything, what might have changed? Can you experience their beingness, or do you find that you're only willing to allow people to be in a certain way, and if they're in another way, you're stopping it, you're forcing it, or you're changing it? So just have a look. And as you're doing this, Viviana says, my reaction will be different. Jacqueline says, I might have been more relaxed. Maja, I'm not sure if I'm saying that right, says, definitely. Christiana says, the charge wouldn't be so strong. Let's have a look at this. Jen says, I would have felt less threatened. Jess says, no fight. Now, isn't this interesting? Manuela says, I could have taken a little distance. So, yes, Maria says, less frustration. Okay. Excellent. So now you're starting to see this, and I want to talk to you about a rather terrifying experience that I had as a child. So when I was a little girl, for whatever reason, my grandfather was playing with me, and he decided, and this was not very nice, there was a blanket on the ground, to kind of roll me up inside of the blanket. And I was like 4 years old. My little arms got pinned to my side, and I felt like, even though I could breathe, I felt completely compressed and completely, locked. Yeah? And so as soon as I was in like this compressed thing, I felt scared, anxious, frustrated. I started to overheat. I started to push against things. All of this compression came up. Now, does that make sense? I mean, not a really nice thing for him to do, but it gave me an understanding of something really profound. Can you guys kind of see that? Imagine like you're a little kid, you're rolled up inside of a blanket. It's awful. I totally identify, Erica says. Okay. So what's happening with us in the spaces around us and with the interactions? It's horrible. It is horrible. But we're doing this regularly in our interactions with other people because we're actually coming into something with so much preconceived pictures of what it should be, could be, needs to be, all of this, that we don't allow things to actually be. And so it's almost like we're rolling ourselves up in this blanket in so many interactions, not all of them. So there's, of course, interactions where you're totally serene, meditative, feeling good, being embodied, but there's a lot of these where you come to something and you already sense a conflict and you begin to resist it. Now, as you begin to resist it, it's kind of like the Chinese handcuffs thing, if you guys ever played with those. The more you try to resist, the tighter it gets. And so this is what's happening with our mind and our perceptions, and this loss of the meditative state is that we enter into a situation where we're not allowing any space to be, and we start resisting it, thinking that's how we'll protect ourselves, and it hugs closer, and all of a sudden we become fused with our perceptions. Does this make sense, guys, or did I get too philosophical? Are we still friends? Sure, it's cool. Still friends. Okay, good. Okay. So now this is something that we practice because so there's two kind of approaches to becoming more meditative in our life. We make our logical, analytical mind expand so that we're able to like just assess things kind of as they are, a reflection of reality. Yeah, we make that expand, which is what this technique does. Or we detox out the reactionary mind so it becomes smaller and smaller and smaller. The best thing to do is both at the same time. But right here, as you're, wanting to apply this immediately, you begin practicing it, which I find really interesting. Like I go for a walk And as I'm kind of walking down the street, you'll see that there's the trash can, or maybe people littered, and you will see that when you look at that, you subtly push against it. You do this little pushing thing, and then it pushes against you. And it's just like you wrapped yourself in the blanket. Now you have an idea about the thing, and it's stuck to you. What you push against pushes against you, and it sticks to you. Now you're walking down the street, and that trash bag that someone like threw on the ground, which was 10 paces back, but it's coming with you in your mind field. Yeah, can we see this? And it can be kind of any object, yeah. So when you walk now, or you go to the coffee shop, or you go to the meeting, you go to your spouse, you go to the bathroom, you go to do any of your things, begin to say, okay, what will happen if I just allow? So I allow the plastic bag to be there without thinking about it, what to do about it, who was wrong for putting it there, any stories or dramatization around it. It is. And then I see the beautiful flower. Now that's another thing. We see a beautiful thing and all of a sudden we reach for it. Yeah, whether we're pushing or we're reaching, we're also wrapping ourselves around the thing which wraps it around us. Now I begin to carry the flower with me. Now you may like that because it's pleasant, but still, it's something that you're carrying with you. And that habit of carrying, whether it's a good thing or a bad thing, is a habit of carrying. And what would be really nice is to spend a certain amount of time in your day just walking through life and allowing everything to be exactly as it is around you. Does this make sense? Yeah. Can you guys see how you would apply this? Like, will you apply it? Yeah, Leslie, Angela. Like right now, just allow things to be. And you'll feel like, it's almost like, to me when I practice this, it feels like maybe my heart was a little bit tense, and all of a sudden, there's a box there, it's fine. Sure, I can do something with it later, but the moving from that place of allowing it to be. Mitch says, abso-freaking-lutely. Mitch, I didn't even see you. It's so good to see you. Elena says, I was just thinking about how to apply this with my kids at home. Yeah, okay, so let's look at this. Like, this is an excellent one. Practicing this with family members will be challenging, but really, really worthwhile. Pedro, it puts you at cause, exactly. It puts you at spiritual causation of all the things in your life, which is, as yogis, we want to be like, we want to realize our abilities. It's totally applicable for me right now, Mitch says. So let's, the challenge is to be conscious on this 24 hours a day. Let's start with 1 minute, Manuela. It's true, it'd be great to do it 24 hours, but let's start with 1 minute, because again, it's in yoga we have this concept of the mustard seed, the tiniest thing, which is an analogy of a tiny thing. The tiniest change affects everything. Elena says she has 3 teens. Well, you have an excellent opportunity to practice meditation here. So let's look at this. Now, if you're a mom and you have 3 teens, that's a lot. I feel like Viviana will feel your heart space on this one, because she has triplets, and they all just graduated high school. So if you happen to have young children, yeah, and if there's 3 of them, they're all going to have different struggles. And you're going to have a memory of all of your experiences with them. You're going to have a memory also of what you want for them. And while you may be the most free, open-minded parent, still you have something that you want for your children. Yeah? And that's valid, and let's allow that to be. And so let's say we give space to that memory of all the memories of all of your children's histories, your agendas, what you want for them, what they want. What if we allow that component of the mind's field to just be? It's an interesting thing. It's just like saying, it's an acknowledgement, hello, I understand, this is a thing. And once we allow that to be, and you do this consciously, instantaneously, then when you see your children and they come, now you practice, here they come, and teenagers can be super wound up, they can be really emotional, they're going through all kinds of things which are different from our struggles in a lot of ways. To understand that, the first step is you have to allow it to exist instead of immediately pushing against it. And when I say allow it to exist, I'm not talking about 10 minutes, I'm talking about 2 seconds. Your child comes to you before you let anything rush in, any of the past, any of the ideas, any assessment, judgments. What are you going to do with what your child is doing? Allow them to just be. The same thing works with your parents, by the way. Ariane, when your mom is coming to you and she's all wound up like a mom, just go ahead and let her be. And see what happens. So this idea of, I'm going to give like 2 seconds of allowing the beingness, in that creating of space, that creating of distance, you will see first that your natural ease of spirit, your natural serenity, which is your natural state, your native state, comes first. And then after that, what response you choose instead of react, what response you choose, you're much more likely to choose. So what you can see is then the next 2 seconds, you start to feel wound up. At any point, you can again allow, and then you hear, you receive, you experience the other being. And especially when we're dealing with our familial relationships, the value of this is tremendous, because what you will see is that if everyone in a household, mothers, daughters, fathers, sons, mothers, sons, if all of this in the household allowed each other to be just a little bit, that space alone will resolve a lot of issues. Christiana says, wow, I did that with my mom last night. Acted upon her versus allowed her to be. Yeah, it's tough. So Christiana, her mother is going through a little bit of Alzheimer's, and it's a real struggle for any of you who have caretaken one of your parents. It's really hard to not want to be in control and not want to fix it. And so that's why I say it's something we practice that allows us to be in a meditative state. So we practice this, allowing someone to be, and we find ourselves within the truth of the moment. Viviana says, beautiful. Elena says, in my case, I want to control everything. Yes. Now, Elena, let's apply this principle to that. What happens if you allow your desire to control to exist? Separate from you. Remember, you're a composite. So we can say there's you in your presence, your I amness, your beingness. And then there's this. So in Sanskrit, we say desire is kama. It's a root desire. And here we have desire to control. What if we didn't have a problem with that desire to control? We didn't push against it. We didn't try to change it. We just allowed it to be. What if you granted beingness to your desire to control? And you see how the moment you allow the desire to control, because what's happening? Why is it a problem? Because here's the desire to control, here's you, and you push against the desire to control, and you know what it does? It pushes back. I grew up on a farm where we wanted to move the cows. If you push against them, they push against you. So you use that, you push against them a little bit, they push against you, and you take them in that direction. It's the same principle. You go to push against my desire to control. Oh, it's wrong. That's pushing against it. Oh, I shouldn't control. But I really want to control. All of this is pushing, pulling, pushing, pulling. That's the problem. But what you can do is you can say, hello, my desire to control. Okay, I see you. There you are. I allow it. But now you've separated you, which changes your future actions from this pattern of identification. This is the thing I need to either not do or do or not do or... Set it aside for a second. Elena says, exactly, they push harder. Viviana says, wow. Christiana says, wow. So can you see this? So we can apply this to anything, like every single thing in your life, whether it's a mental construct that you've created or a physical thing. Jen says, I'm so busy on my land getting things done, allowing things to be, choosing what to allow to be on any given day in order to direct something else to completion is how I stay sane. Yes. Yeah. So Lords, thank you. Lord says, so agree. So guys, I run a skincare lab. I run a yoga school. I have an amazing husband. I work all the time with my clients. I have really long days. Now that if I didn't allow that to be, if I pushed against it, if I start thinking when I wake up in the morning about all the things, all of a sudden the space collapses and I feel this no meditation. So what do? I allow each thing to be in its space, just a little bit of space. And in this way, you will see that you can juggle many, many, many things and make decisions very clearly. Because in that space, you move from your reactive, reactionary mind into your logical, analytical mind, or even a higher mind. But let's work with those two for today's workshop. All right. Christiana says, so simple, and grants us beingness by allowing it to other people, things. Yeah, if you grant beingness to other things, you grant it to yourself as well, and you can grant it to every element of yourself. Jen says, yes, even so it's harder with people, but not impossible. I didn't say it was easy. I said it was effective. Guys, this is your 2-second technique. It's effective, but you might have to do it again in 2 seconds, and again and again and again. And what you will see is that through the cultivation of this allowing, which doesn't mean inaction. I can allow you to be and then speak to you or take an action, but it's coming from a place of not needing to destroy, push against, control, any of it. All right, Pedro says, love that. Sanji said, I needed this workshop, learned so much. This is like one of the most effective, it's a life meditation that you can do all the time. I have tons of meditations. I wanted to give you guys something that will really change your life, like this. Christiana says, especially with weight, as women pushing back all the time instead of allowing it to be. Yeah, with your body. Listen, how much of your life are you like waking up and judging your body? Yeah, and I can always say the thing, well, you don't like your legs, imagine the person with one leg. It can always be worse. It can always be better. But what if you just allowed your body to be exactly as it is? We could say the universe, God, or whatever you want to refer to it, allows you to be exactly as you are, but yet you have a problem with it. And do you succeed more because you don't allow your body to be? If you look at it and you examine this and you say, well, what happens when I wake up and I don't allow my arms to be the way they are, or my legs, or my butt, or my belly, or my boobs, or my body, or my hair, and I look at it and I say, it sits on you. It compresses you, and you're much less likely to change. Not that you need to change. What if you just enjoyed yourself in all of your fleshy goodness? Exactly. What if you allowed it to be? Yeah? What if you were just like, this is how I am today? And it's okay. And the funny thing is that you think, well, then I'll get stuck like that and I'll never improve. And if I don't improve, I'm a failure at everything. You can allow that thought to be. You're less likely to improve if you feel bad about yourself. You have less energy. Everything sits on you. You make bad decisions. Let's see. Jen says, like, my hands aren't pretty, but they've created incredible and amazing things. I think your hands are pretty. It's all a matter of viewpoint. Yeah? Like, my hands are gnarly, tough, muscly. My fingernails are always, I just keep them short. They're always full of different herbs and soils and all of this. I think it's beautiful. I put the beauty there. Let's see. Christiana says, how do you know what's going on in my mind? I allow your mind to be. So this is this voice, and I've been bringing this into a lot of my classes lately, where I say things like, what if you just liked yourself right now? Exactly as you are. Because I promise you, I work with models, these beautiful statuettes, perfected skin, hair, eyes, size 0. And I want to ask you this, and I want to ask everyone here very seriously. How do you think they feel about themselves? How do you think they feel about themselves? Think about it. How do you think that those people, which is a big part of my clientele, feel about themselves? Never content. Exactly, Annika. Same as most people, even more pressure. They hate themselves more than the average person. I thought this was, it was really crazy. I used to do a lot of producing photo shoots. I love, digital work, and I love to make things that are beautiful. And like yoga photo shoots with some of the most beautiful yoga models on the planet. And it was a really strange thing. I remember one time, and I would demonstrate the pose, then coach them into it, and they're 6 feet tall, made of sticks and beauty. And the photos would come out astoundingly beautiful. And they would say to me, I want my photos to look like yours. Now, I don't have that body. I'm a little chub. I love my body. But it was different. And I found this very, very interesting. And when I talked to them more, what I arrived at was that the reason why they found my form attractive and theirs not was that there was an inner state that radiated out of me of, I allow it to be, and then I play with it. Because the next thing when you allow it to be, there's no drama. There's no seriousness. Oh my God, I have to hate my body or change my body or force my body or whatever gradient you're at. There's no seriousness. You can enjoy it. And what you can enjoy, you can play with. And that comes across. That comes across. And that is what people actually are attracted to. So it was a very beautiful understanding, and when I understood this, I was able to really help these amazing women who were really suffering. So I promise you that no matter how much you can make your hands like you think they should be, or your forearm, or your chest, or your hair, and I'm all for improving, that it's your viewpoint that literally is what gives the space to the atoms to be in a different way. Annika says, I can understand that. Melissa, hello, my psychic dolphin lady, woman, girl. Great to see you. They never feel good enough. It's true. Maha, they are constantly getting judged, and that is the reality. They are constantly getting judged, but so are you. The difference is that they eat that judgment, and they consume it, and they define themselves by it, instead of just allowing it. Okay, someone's judging me. Cool. This allowingness is going to create an amazing meditative space around you, which is what I wanted to share with you today. So the end result of this communication is I want you guys to have the ability to create a meditative state very quickly and with ease and without all of the, like, I love the posture. I'm a classic yogi. Like, we'll sit and meditate 10 hours until your body feels numb everywhere. I love that. But you don't need that. I did that because to kind of realize this, it's this simple. So you don't need a complicated practice. You can really work with this and walk about your life and go into the kitchen and see your spouse and be like, okay, I'm going to practice. And maybe you only get it right for 2 seconds. And then you get reactive and you got to change them. But those 2 seconds let you know you could do it for 2 seconds. And the next day 4, and the next day 8. And in this way, with the tiniest thing, we change the world. Does this make sense to you, my loves? Yeah. So let's take this a step further, just to close out today. So that's the teaching. Now I want to show you how this is going to change your life, because this is really important to understand how profound this really simple, like 2 seconds of allowing, can change. So let's understand what happens when we're affected by everything we touch and do. So many people are going through life, and every interaction, experience, whether it's like sweeping the floor or going to a meeting, it really affects them. Okay? Now this won't happen to you anymore, because now you have a way to create the space so you can allow things. When you allow them, they move past or around. Doesn't mean you don't address them, but people are very affected by everything they touch. And so what happens is that as you go through life and you get all of these effects and these effects and these effects, you start to hesitate before doing anything. And this is an indication that you've gone down into a low frequency, and it can be changed really quick. So I want you to think about this. Let's say you had a really, really, really terrible 3 weeks. Just everything's been going wrong, and you go to this meeting and you're nervous and you're agitated and you fail, and you just have, like, when you get into a bad spiral, you're in a bad spiral. I want you to remember a time or visualize it where you've had a really bad 3 weeks. So on the 3 weeks and 1 day, you wake up in the morning. How much do you hesitate before getting out of bed? Do you spring out of bed? Woohoo, here I come, life, it's a new day. Whatever it is, I'm going to juggle it and play. Or do you lay there and like, oh boy, I have 3 meetings today. And you start to hesitate, and you start to yeah, bracing for impact. Exactly, Christiana. You're just like, everything's hitting you. And what I'm proposing, and I'm a martial artist, is that you start to kind of allow a little space and then maybe start to hit at life. Not in like a nasty way. I just push back at life. Oh, I'm going to push back. I'm going to play with it. I'm going to juggle it. I'm going to enjoy it. Manuela says, every day goes slowly. Yeah, you start to hesitate. Christiana said, I did that yesterday at the dentist. Once I allowed it was easy. Christiana had an amazing day at the dentist yesterday. She sent me a message this morning about how she applied the principles we've been learning over the last year while getting a root canal and actually had an enjoyable experience. It's, again, you have this ability. Let's see. So we can see that if every experience impacts us and is really tight, it sticks to us. And then when we go for new experiences or to create new life, a new relationship, a new business, a new interaction, a new shirt, we'll hesitate. And the more and more this kind of builds up, we get more and more hesitation until you can't make a decision. Who's ever experienced a time in your life when you had trouble making decisions? Let's just spot it. I've had this. I've gone through times where I'm like, I can't make a decision. And luckily I have like a bit of a map from all of my training to say, wait a second, can't make decisions. What is this? Woof. I like that, Erica. Exactly. Woof. Elena says all the time for my private life. Yeah, you get stuck. And this hesitation, this hesitating is destructive. It's better to make a bad decision and just move on than to be stuck at a non-decision, because it's like being rolled up in the blanket. I don't know, which way do I go? And you see that you just die. You lose that life force. It's better to get splashy with the world. Okay, I made the wrong choice. Make a new choice. Don't be so affected by it. And this technique that you learned today of allowing things, people, words, ideas, different viewpoints, allowing it to exist, allowing yourself to see it, begins to change this, because now it doesn't stick to you and you don't hesitate. You look at life and you can make a decision. Melissa says, I always have this issue as a Pisces. Yeah, it's just that you have allowed things to affect you. And remember, something affecting you is only your consideration. Because you've seen this. You've seen people that someone's really mean to them and they're like, okay, the person was mean to me. You've seen another person, someone looked at them funny and they're upset for years. You decide. Yes, Pedro says, we put it there. You decide. You decide. And one of the best ways to actually get to being conscious, organizing that composite of how you are and how you show up in the world, is just this simple technique. You don't have to worry more. Just create a little bit of space by allowing. Allow someone to say whatever they need to say to you without reacting. Just allow, okay, they said something. And I'm not saying it's easy, but I'm saying that the moment that you say, I'm going to allow it, you'll feel like a discharge or a loss of time. At first you might be like, okay, I'm going to allow someone to say what they need to say to me and let them be exactly as they are. And oh, they're just, that's what they had going on anyways. That was that person's truth, whether I fought against it or not. And from that place, you will see that a whole new set of abilities arise. Making sense, my loves? So this was the second in a series of, these are like community uplift lectures. You're all going to get an email with the link to this, and this is free. You can share it to everybody and anyone. You can take all of this and use it. And a lot of you are teachers. You can take this and use it however you see fit. It's part of a much bigger body of work that I'm going to be going systematically through over the next 3 months. So if you're interested in doing a deeper dive and where we're actually going to detox that reactive mind, join the course or write to me. Next Thursday, Annika, I am in, I like it. Next Thursday, in 2 days, I have another one of these. It's just, again, a short lecture you can invite people to, where I'll explore a topic like this with the intention of giving you a clarity, so we have good defined words and a way that you can bring it into your life. So Christiana says, I used the last session in a training, got massive results with my students. Yeah, the pranayama one also was amazing. Katia, mi amor, ¿cómo estás? I miss your pictures. Jen, I'd like to more about Christiana's radio show. So tomorrow, Christiana, you want to post something about it? I'll be doing a live radio show with Christiana. She's going to ask me questions about something exciting, I'm sure. Maha says, thank you, so inspiring. I'm glad my friend invited me. Yes. And on Thursday, same time, invite some more people. This is free. I just want to give you guys information, and you can come with questions. Thank you, Lourdes. Thank you, Maria, Angela. Yeah, register for next week. Share it with people. This is like practical stuff. I want to see the world a better place. There it is. Christiana says you can also call in and ask questions. It'll be Wednesday, 5 to 6 p.m. EST. She put the thing there. We'll blast it out over social media tomorrow. Mika, I love you. I miss you. Mitch, I'm so glad to see you, by the way. Yeah, I'm going to send out I'll put it on. So basically I put a landing page with all of these lectures on it. So you can, all of them will be there on one page. So you can watch all of them whenever you want. It's nice to have you here so we can be in communication. But also sometimes there's something you want to see, and these are free. And you should be able to watch it as many times as you want. Thank you. Jen, thank you. Mika, thank you. Pedro, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I love you. Go and practice. Go for a walk. Practice allowing. And if you have any questions, come on Thursday. Bring me the questions and we'll solve it. Leslie. Okay. Thank you guys so much all over the world. I'll send you a follow-up email. Feel free to share it. And I hope you have a very joyous Tuesday. Thanks for tuning in for our midday magic. I love you guys. Namaste, and enjoy this simple, easy, life-changing meditation. Bye. Love you, Nasha, mi amor. Bye.